All right, it's 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes now after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this nice-looking Friday morning. It just feels good to say it's Friday, doesn't it? Even though it doesn't feel like Friday. It was a holiday earlier in the week, wasn't there? We have in the studio some people who do some wonderful things for our young people in our community. Lynn Sennett is a volunteer recruiter and trainer with the Guardian Ad Litem program of Florida, 5th Circuit. And Paul Prevane, am I saying your name right, Paul? Is also a guardian, and we have 2 children in here, and I'll let you make the decision. We do not have them on the camera, but I'll let you tell me what their names are. I don't know if they're aliases, and I don't want to say something on the air that I shouldn't say. Let's find out what you do. What is Guardian Ad Litem? And first of all, thank you so much for coming into the studio, and going to have to move that microphone around with you. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Where are you? Where are you? Right there it goes. Now I think I can hear you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
When we say 5th Circuit, that's got to be gigantic, right? That's not just Marion County,
no,
right?
The 5th Circuit is 5 counties. It's Marion, Lake,
5, wow.
Sumter, Hernando, and Citrus County.
Oh, wow.
So the program is divided up into judicial circuits.
Okay, and do you both do the same thing?
No.
Just pull that microphone over to you. I'm sorry.
Sure, that's right. No, I'm a Guardian Ad Litem, and Lynn is the recruiter for the Guardian program.
Oh, okay.
I'm a staff person, and he's a volunteer.
Right.
All right. What does ad litem mean? Just let's talk about the Latin part of this. Isn't that Latin?
It means at law for the suit, so it's representing someone who can't represent themselves. In this case, it's children in the dependency court system, kids who have been removed from their home due to neglect, abuse, or abandonment.
Oh, my goodness.
So we
Okay.
speak on behalf of them. That's what it literally means.
And is that in addition to any attorney that might be involved?
Yes.
Or instead of?
Well, yes, the guardian, the volunteer guardian is representing as the voice of the child, and they're actually the one that gets to know the child. We do have program attorneys that sit with our guardian in court. They basically are managing the legal aspects of the case, whereas the guardian is the one who is speaking on behalf of the child.
Okay, all right. And are you both? Well, you actually recruit, don't you?
Yes, I recruit
All
and train, and I'm a guardian also.
Oh, you? Oh, so okay.
Yes.
So all the questions can go to either or. Do you travel the entire 5 counties, either of you?
Well, we have an office in every county. I travel all 5 because
Okay.
I'm the recruiter trainer for all 5 counties. We have an office in each county, and so the guardians will be assigned to a particular office. Paul is in the Ocala office.
So, Paul, again, let me just kind of hug that, just make out with that microphone, basically. How did you? Let's see. You were recruited somehow. Did you apply for it, or did? How did you become a guardian?
Well, in the newspaper, they occasionally would have requests for guardians, basically explain what the program was. And one of my good friends was a guardian and a co-softball player, and he explained the program to me, and I called Lynn up and attended their training sessions, and before I knew it, I've got beautiful kids like this to work with.
Yeah, we basically do have an application process, and we do a level 2 background check. So we have an application, references, an interview process to make sure it's a match,
Right.
and then we have a 30-hour training.
And who does the application? Do the students themselves make the application to you,
No.
or does their guidance counselor at school?
No.
How do you know how to
We're
find
talking
them?
about the guardian.
Yeah, what happens
okay.
is the court appoints us to a case when a child, when the court deems that a child is not safe to be at home, they appoint our program to the case.
I
So
see.
that's how, and then the program asks a particular volunteer, to take a case. So the removal has already happened, and the court has said this child needs a guardian
Oh, okay.
for their best interest. We only exist to make sure that the child gets all the services they need, to make sure they're okay where they are, and to speak up for them, among many other things.
Okay, so you're not necessarily giving legal advice to
No.
the children or the families, right?
No.
Okay, so you are making sure that they're taken care of.
Correct.
In every sense of that.
Correct.
As you can
expression.
imagine, the child welfare system is very bureaucratic. It's like a maze.
Probably, yeah.
And the legal system is like a maze. So in the courtroom, the parents have an attorney, the Department of Children and Families have an attorney, but there's no one there for the child. It's the it's the guardian volunteer who's there to make sure that the child's interests are met.
And we have an attorney of our own who
Yes.
sits beside us.
So when a child needs to be in court for testimony, let's say, that's got to be a scary moment. Do you sometimes go in lieu of the child?
Yes.
Okay. So you, in other words, you're so familiar with the child that the child can wait where, in another room during the court proceedings? Or
Sometimes they don't even show up to the courthouse.
they're not even there?
No. We have access to anybody and everybody that's involved with the child. We have court orders that allow us to talk to the doctors, a psychiatrist if there's one involved. There's schools, grandparents, anybody.
Oh my goodness! And are they all trying to butter you up? Make sure you say good things about them.
Well,
Does that happen?
It's interesting. One of my concerns before I became involved was I thought it would be a contentious relationship with the parents. But it's just the opposite. The lawyers for the parents will tell them, whatever you do, be kind to the guardian ad litem, because they have a great amount of influence on the judge as
Yeah.
far as the case is concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, the parents basically do treat us very nicely, most of the time.
Okay.
Do you have access 24/7 to the children, and they have access to you, or they
Yes.
can make a phone call to you?
Yes, correct. They have my phone number, I have theirs, and in the case of older children, as the two that are here with me right now, they have their own cell phones, and it's pretty much 24/7, being able to reach them or them to reach me.
Do you end up becoming a mentor, even though that might not be in the job description, so to speak?
You end up becoming a lot of things that
Really?
are in the job description. Right now, I refer to them as my adopted grandchildren.
Grandpa Paul?
Yeah. We spent so much time together in the last year since I've been involved with the case that you just become close. I mean, you know more about them than themselves in some cases.
The possibility that would happen has to tell us something about the reason you became a guardian in the first place. In other words, there's something about your being, both of you, that is big-hearted, and I can't think of a better way to say this. And you wouldn't be there in the first place. So it almost lent the type of person who would be interested in being a guardian ad litem. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
That's what you are as a guardian ad litem?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That person must already have it within himself or herself to be accessible as a surrogate grandpa, or as that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, I've always been involved with children. There's no greater gift in this world than a child.
There you go. I love that.
And to be
Yeah.
able to do something to help a child in a very critical moment in their lifetime is extremely rewarding. It's very difficult. I mean, make no doubt about it. It's probably the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also the most rewarding thing that I've ever done.
You had said that the young man you have with you today, you helped reunite with his mom.
Correct.
How did that happen, that they were apart and then you brought them together?
Wow. Well, actually, the court itself insists that children and parents have time together. They're part of the main objective when a kid goes into the dependency program is reunification with parents. That's the main thing that the court wants to see. So part of that is they really insist that we provide a way for parents to talk to children, to spend time with children to spend time with siblings. In many cases, there'd be multiple kids that may not be together, so they want the children to have access to each other too. So to remain in touch with the parents, with the rest of the family, is a very important part of reunification. So in this particular case, I spent an unusual amount of time with the mom because of the program that she was on for reunification.
That is amazing.
The future children that you'll be working with, I want you to talk about one of them. Just kind of make up a scenario and use what's happened in the past to help me understand how this works.
Okay.
There's a child out there somewhere. You're going to get a call sometime, right? What does that call sound like, and what happens?
Well, we don't actually take the call. It would be the judge that would. We get involved after the fact, but I'll give you an example.
Okay.
One of the most, we're talking about abuse, neglect, or abandonment. And in our area, the major issue is drugs, has to do with drugs.
Our area,
The Fifth
Central
Circuit.
Florida.
Central Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be, It could be physical abuse of a child. It
Okay.
could be abandonment of a child.
Could be alcohol.
Could be alcohol. Substance abuse, I should say.
By
The parent.
the parents or guardian?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then an abuse report might go out by a teacher who notices something.
Right.
Either the children, aren't coming to school, or they're not well fed, or et cetera. So when it's investigated and the court says the children are not safe here, they're then placed in foster care or in a group home or with a relative under court supervision. At that point, they appoint us to the case.
So that's when you get the call.
We get, yes, the court.
Okay.
Yeah, the court.
And they say, oh, we got Susie, and she's got these situations in her life, and at what point do you meet Susie?
As soon as we get the case. When a child, it's called sheltering when the judge says the child needs to be removed. At that point, our program has all the information about the child, and then we look at where the child is placed, and we try to find a guardian that lives somewhat near them, and maybe there's something in either they're teenagers. For example, we have a man. Most of our guardians are females. So to have male guardians who would take on teenage boys or middle school boys is such a great thing.
Right.
So I'm sure that Paul's coordinators, there are coordinators or supervisors who would say, Paul, I have this great kid for you. He's
Right.
he's
What,
14 or
talking about you?
15.
Yeah.
And he lives at such and such a place, and I think this would be a great match. So our coordinators match them up, and then they go and visit the child, and then it starts.
Actually, when my son was little, and I'd go on these field trips as a chaperone, I'd be the only father. They would always give me my son and the other worst kids.
The one thing I might add is that before you take a case, you are invited into the office to review the file, to see if there's something in there that would be a problem for you. And then you're
Yes.
given a complete history of what they know up to that point.
Okay.
And it usually includes possibly a police report of the incident that the Guardian program involved,
Right.
or the first person that visits a child is usually a very experienced person that isn't embarrassed to ask all the questions and do all the let me see in here, let me see in there, and then you have that report in your hand before you ever visit the child to start with.
And
Yes.
Tyler, were you scared in the very beginning? How did you feel about knowing that you might have to have a guardian?
Well, I didn't know that it was just going to be. When I first seen or thought about a guardian ad litem, I thought it was just going to be some random person, a female or male. And now that I know Paul, I couldn't ask for any better of a guardian ad litem.
And how old were you?
I paid him to say that.
Yeah.
15,
And how long has Paul been your guardian?
almost a year, probably a week away from a year.
Oh, okay.
Wow. It's that.
So-
See, that shows you that it's important if you remember the anniversary date. I mean, there's something about that, right? I didn't realize we were going to talk to the young people. So, okay. And so, are you related to each other?
Yes, that's my sister.
Oh, okay. Your brother and sister. Okay. And is your life greatly different now than a year ago? Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I don't want to ask too many personal questions, but how did it? Alexis, is that you? Alexis, how did it change for you? How did your life change in the past year?
Well, I wasn't even living with my mom. We weren't getting along or anything. And when Paul stepped in, he would sit there and talk to me, talk to her, and we would just, go out to eat. And he would take us through the steps that I didn't even know and my mom didn't know. And now we're reunited.
Wow. So there was some kind of a way that you created a bridge, Paul. You somehow, I know it's a pain. One day we'll get a remote control thing. I'll be able to.
Well, you do whatever you can to develop communication, because when a mother and a daughter have met separated to the extent that they were,
Yeah.
the most important thing is to get them talking to one another. You can't reconcile differences if you're not communicating.
But you knew that, and you knew how to do it. That's no.
I'm an old man with 5 children and 10 grandchildren, so it wasn't my first time in dealing with an issue.
Wow.
Here's the thing
That says a lot.
I think that's really important to say is that we're talking about the child welfare industry, so to speak, and there's only one
Profession.
person who's the volunteer, and that's the guardian ad litem. The rest are professionals, and they're handling a lot of different issues. So you have a person, and a guardian doesn't have to have a particular background. It's a person who's had life experience, who has common sense, who cares about children, and has had a family themselves. So they're approaching, all of the guardians approach the kids as if they were their children. How would they handle a situation with their own children or grandchildren? And that's what makes our program so great, is
Wow.
that the child is kind of looked after by a person who is not a professional. They're a volunteer, they're a lay person. So the relationship is more personal than what a staff person would be or what a social worker would be.
And you're looking for volunteers now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We always need volunteers, especially men, but we'll take our fine ladies too. Just to give you a few numbers, in the 5 counties, we have 1,800 children in dependency. That's children who have been removed from their home, who are in foster care or a group home or living with a relative. We have about 600 total volunteers right now. Taking it down to Marion County, which is our largest county and our most needed county, we have about 700 children under supervision. We have about 225 volunteers.
Wow.
Yeah, we have about 500 and something children who do have guardians, because you could have a sibling group, but we constantly need good guardians. And besides the great heart, we also have to have people who can stand up in court, who can make their way through this this maze that's the bureaucracy of the system.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating. So you have to be a
Absolutely.
special person.
I'm guessing, Paul, that in addition to being a loving, kind, big-hearted man, you can be tough when you need to be, can't you? Does that you tap into that a lot?
Yes, sir.
So, because I can see that. I can see that you're that kind of a guy. So, if in your opinions, it's a good idea to reunite the children with the parents. It makes sense to do it. I mean, and sometimes it's not going to make sense, but sometimes it will. It sounds like it did in this case. Okay. You see that, and you mentioned that drugs was a big issue in our community. Okay, so let's say the mom, I'm just going to pick on just this fictitious woman here. She's using drugs, and you see, if you could just get off of those stupid drugs, you would have your relationship back.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
Well, that's the entire process. You just described it. That the court will mediate with the parents or the parent, depending on the circumstances, develop a case plan, which are steps that have to take place before a child can go back into the home. And we monitor that case plan. We know that these things are supposed to happen,
Right.
and we try to make sure that each step takes place, whether it's a requirement of the child or a requirement of the parent. That's part of our responsibility.
You can't even measure the skill that you have in order to be able to do that. There's no certificate that's going to indicate that you've got that. What Alexis described that you did for these 2 children in speaking to the children and their mother, whatever it is you said, whatever it is you did, it was miraculous.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay. I see the humbleness right there. But the truth is, okay, yes, I think it is too. I don't think anybody around you would disagree except for you, because you're too humble to see it that way. But okay, how about this then? Would you admit that it was skillful? There was something about your life experiences that gave you the skills to understand what you needed to say.
Well, I think I've been involved with management most of my business career, and in dealing with people, it's always getting down to the root of the problem, and then be able to let each person see what the issue is for the other. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's pretty basic.
Here's the really cool thing.
But you didn't know it when you were 20.
Well, yeah,
You learned it along the way.
that's true. That's absolutely right.
You can't. It's a hard thing to learn.
That's why anybody can be a guardian. Anyone who has any bit of life experience, who's had to learn to adjust and deal and compromise, and is a good guardian.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Specifically, two people that I've run into that I think are excellent guardians. One are policemen, because they've had to deal with these types of conflicts all their life,
That
or
makes
all
sense.
their career.
That makes sense.
And the other are teachers, because teachers are also very involved
Makes sense.
with children and issues that come up relating to children. So if there's any teachers or policemen out there that have some extra time, give Lynn a call. We surely can use you, especially if you're a guy.
Yes, and nurses too. I mean, in every walk of life, there's a skill that a person has. That's the neat thing about my job, is I get to meet a lot of different people, and they come from a lot of different walks of life, and everyone has a talent that they can bring to this, because the guardian wears many hats actually. So.
By the way, the good-looking woman sitting behind us is my wife, who is also a guardian.
Yes, they work together.
Nice.
All right.
And that is a major plus. If you can get a spouse to be involved and where you can work together on a case, it makes it so much better.
I really appreciate you explaining what a guardian ad litem does. I honestly didn't know. I sort of kind of knew, but you've helped me out a lot in understanding what you do, and we want to make sure we help you find some qualified candidates to
Great.
become guardian ad litem. But I want to say something that I guess you know this. In doing the news every day, I report on people who've been bad, people who've hurt children, people who've killed children. Okay, that makes the news. There's not going to be a story tomorrow that says Paul did something today that stopped somebody from committing suicide 10 years from now. That's not going to be in the news. We're never going to know that.
No, it's true.
How many people have you and everybody in your profession, and it's a volunteer thing, so I don't even know if profession works, but we need to understand that what you do is the news we don't hear. And yet, it's what makes the world a better place.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
And Tyler, are you and Alexis going to a school right now, or are you in a homeschool program, or how is that working out?
Yes, I'm going to Denellen High School,
Uh-huh.
and my sister goes to a Christian academy.
All right, in Ocala? You go to the one in Ocala?
No, in Denellen.
Oh, this one in Denellen? Okay, excellent. Well, good for you. You guys have talent. You know, God gave everybody a talent. I got a little story to tell you about Christopher Columbus. Are you ready for this? I know. Robin's heard it 100 times. Christopher Columbus was given credit for discovering that the world was round. I don't want to debate that or not, but when that was discovered, it should not have been a surprise, and here's why. Every other planet is round. So, why wouldn't we be round? The same thing is true with all of God's creation. There's not a thing out there, an animal, a plant, that God hasn't given a gift to so that it can provide for itself. How about that? And
That's true.
that means you're no different. That means you have a talent. And you have a talent. The difference in humans from dogs and cats and cows and other animals is that we all have a different talent. Yours is different than hers, is different than his, is different than mine. Might be the same. A doctor doesn't have the same talent as a singer, doesn't have the same talent as a fireman, and all that. So whatever it is that's bubbling inside of you, that's begging to be done, I really truly believe that you're going to do that because of the work that the guardian ad litems have done, and the other adults in your lives too that have said, you know what, we love you, we want you to be the best you can be. Just don't ever, there was a, you know who Frank Sinatra is? No. Okay. Well, Frank Sinatra had a story he told about his daughter. His daughter is named Nancy. She's still around, but he passed away. But he said to Nancy when she was a teenager, he said, whatever happens in your life, don't despair. Don't ever become desperate. Don't ever despair. You'll get through everything. And you do. You get through everything somehow or other. And that talent, that thing that drives you, whether you want to become a teacher or a lawyer or a singer or whatever, you'll be able to do it because you are supposed to be able to do it.
And one of the most incredible things, Tyler, you and Alexis are doing is that you're role models for other children, even though they might not know about your situation. You might be able to perceive that maybe somebody's going through a rough time and help them. So you both have an awesome responsibility.
Lynn, how do we help you? What can we do?
Well, let me give you the number to call.
All right. I'm ready. I'm going to take notes.
Okay. They can call me, Lynn Sennett, at 352-274-5231.
All right.
And we also have a website, which is www.guardianadlitem.org. We have a volunteer training coming up in January, at the end of January. It's actually in Tavares, but everyone is welcome. We do a training once a month in each of our counties. We always get Marion County people. We especially need people in the northern Marion County area. But just call me and I'll tell you about the program. And I look forward to hearing
All right.
from the listeners.
All right, excellent. And Robin already has the phone number you gave and the website you gave. She already has it on the WOCA website.
Great.
So if for those listening, if you didn't get a chance to write it down, go to WOCA.com, go to the guest list for this show, AM Ocala Live, and you'll see on today's date, 10 o'clock, you'll see Lynn Sennett's name. We didn't have Paul's name because we didn't know he was coming in. But at the 10:05 slot, you'll see you'll see Lynn's phone number and website and all of that. Lynn Sennett and Paul Provane and Tyler and Alexis, thank you all for coming in, and Mrs. Paul.
Pat.
Pat. Thank you all for coming in, and bigger than that, thank you for what you're doing, and have a happy New Year.
Thank you so
It's our
much,
pleasure.
Larry
Thank you.
and Robin.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We will take a little break, and we will be right back.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my
too.
seat replaced.
Yep.